Hey there, I'm back. So Belle Harder, inspiring others. Hopefully I'm inspiring you or inspiring you to get some creativity going. So I have a couple cards I'm going to do. I'm going to do a double feature here with these two cards using both the Woodland Scenery stamp set and the Weekend Adventures Designer Series papers. So they just, I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes when I get going on a roll and the color combinations just kind of mesh and you're in a paper pack and the ideas just keep flowing. That's kind of how I feel with Woodland Scenery, even though I have kind of mixed and matched different things with it. Just not too long ago, I did Pretty Peacock and Early Espresso and really like that. But then I kind of started delving into this designer series paper and came up with more ideas. So let me get my camera turned around and show you what it's all about. I'm coming to you live through Facebook at a goofy time, but hubby's running a little bit later for our evening meal. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get this in, and a lot of you watch on replay or YouTube as well, so I can do that. I think I'm actually going to start with this card. Actually, I'll show them side by side, so that way for those of you that jump on right away and go, do I really want to watch this video? Nope, that's not my style. Or those of you that go, okay, I'm in, because I love anything woodsy. I love making guy cards that can be for the masculine birthdays and things like that too. So with that in mind, people have been even saying, oh, I kind of want to swap out red and make it a Christmas card, which would be a great idea too. So the Woodland Scenery set has all of these teeny tiny images, and it's in the current mini catalog that sometimes gets overlooked because it's a standalone. There's no dies or punches or anything that go with it, and so that's where this is coming from. And then I'm also using the Choose Happy stamp set for the little hello down there for the first card, and then the second card I will be switching my sentiment from Simply Said. So that is what that looks like, and that. So I'm going to set that aside for now. And then for both of these cards too, I just kind of want to do a quick pull over and show you the Weekend Adventures Designer Series paper. I have shown it in the past, but because I've been using a lot with the buffalo check, and then there's stripes on the back, and that's where the one card will come. I'm actually going to switch out and choose, instead of the green, I'm going to make the same card with this so you can see how different it looks, but still how fun. And then my last card I'm going to make is going to be using that. But I even love this background for like a night sky, just so fun. But of course, because it's blue, I'm going to love it. Hi there, Sharon. So this again is Weekend Adventures 12 by 12 Designer Series paper. And it also comes in a scrapbooking kit. So if you're into scrapbooking or even just love those extra stickers, you can buy this with stickers or the full scrapbook kit for a several page layout map, and that's awesome for that. So I want to let you know that. All right, so let me get started with this card. I'm just going to set this here and have it kind of close by so you can see where I'm going with it, and yet how different it's going to kind of look just based on a couple changes. I'm not changing out any inks or anything, so I want to let you know that. I think I'm going to start by showing you the buffalo check with Cajun Craze in black. The measurements for this is 3.75 by 5, and then with that 1/4 inch step up, then it will be 4 inches by 5 1/4, which is the usual layout that I do for my 1/4 inch measurements and such. Oops, I just kind of knocked my tripod. So I'm going to go ahead and get some adhesive on this, like so. And I also love our two-tone 12 by 12 because this particular designer series paper comes with coordinating 12 by 12, kind of with all of those, like Cajun Craze, Old Olive, Basic Beige, all of those. In an assortment pack, I decided to take my 4 by 5 1/4 layer and use the two tones. So one side's a little lighter, one side's a little darker. I feel like you don't see it as much until I put something else next to it. So I'm using that for my layering piece, which is also kind of nice because it's not super thin, but it's just a tad bit thinner than our regular cardstock. So it is nice for those layers. I feel like I'm trying to remember to pull that out more. I have it when it coordinates with designer series paper, I have it. And then also I just bought a lot of the full packs of the cards, or of the two-tone 12 by 12s when it was on sale not too long ago, because I thought, well, if I buy a bunch, then I'll have it on hand and that will be my excuse to use it. If I don't have it, I can't use it, right? Okay, so I have this, and I'm actually going to go ahead with my embellishment, which is going to be the ribbon. So this is Early Espresso from the Early Espresso and Old Olive Linen Thread Pack, also from the mini catalog. So as you can see, this card has the Old Olive version on that. And I thought, well, this will be fun. And I don't mind using the linen thread when it comes to guy projects, because I think it actually sometimes makes it even look a little bit woodsier and such to have that on there. It's not like I'm using this little frilly looking ribbon at all. So I think this adds a fun, nice touch to that. Like I said, this combination is just a fun one with the Old Olive and the linen and Early Espresso linen thread. Okay, I'm just going to even those out there like so. Just adds a little bit. Hello there, Pam. Buffalo check for you in that wild area, Custer. She lives right on the border of the national park out there, so that's kind of fun. All right, so I've got that, and now let's go to the focal point. And I cut this ahead of time using the Textured Notes dies. Yes, I want to make sure I had the right name for it. And I put this on Very Vanilla, and then I just went ahead and kind of measured this and then came out with my framing. So my Early Espresso is 2 3/8 by 4 inches. So that's what I kind of came up with. So if you like have that, then you'll know exactly which die, because all the textured dies have a little bit of a different edge design to them. So that will help too, if you can kind of see what this one is, to pull it out if you have those dies. And that way, if you aren't using dies and think, you know, I'm just going to cut out a piece of Very Vanilla cardstock or even basic beige, that would be kind of fun too. Oh, good, Pam. Pam, I think this is right up your alley. Pam loves these like rustic looking designs too. So the two colors of ink pads I'm going to be using, and I'm actually making, if you missed the beginning, Pam, I'm making 2 cards. So a lot of the supplies kind of just carry over. So I thought this is perfect for like a double video that way. All right, so I'm just going to take my cabin. I feel like that's kind of the focal point, so I want to start with that. I'm going to ink that up in Early Espresso and just kind of plop that there like that. And then I'm going to go back with my smoke and just kind of add that there like that. So it already looks cozy just by adding that smoke on there. It just I'm going to wipe that off my glass mat so it doesn't transfer. It just adds a lot. And then I'm going to grab my trees. In the stamp set, they have a single tree, and then they've got a grouping of 3. So you could do 1 or 3. And I feel like if I've got 1 inked up, it's just easier to go like so and do that, and then come back over on the edge instead of stamping singles several times. And I always feel like then I have less risk of getting around the edges if it fits tight on there like so. So I've got that, and then I'm going to come back and grab the deer here. I'm going to stamp that little deer in the Early Espresso. Just kind of have him looking like he's peeking out by the trees. So we've got that. I think I've got everything stamped on there. You could go back with a blending brush and kind of just add edges and kind of catch the edge like so, but I kind of liked how crisp and clean it was for looking at that kind of with the busier background too. So let me grab my little cleaning towel here and wipe that off, because my biggest fear is that as I turn this over to get some adhesive on there, that I'm going to put it in that ink and then smear it all over, right? Okay, so I'm just going to layer that with regular adhesive on here, and then I'm going to turn that over and add some dimensionals here to this, like so. And do that. I'm going to grab one more for the middle too. Do that and just kind of then kind of center it, but then allow room for my sentiment also. And what's nice about this buffalo check is it's very easy to line up. You just kind of choose your focal point and go across with it. So it's very easy to line up that way. And so you have to say, ooh, boy, which one do I like better? I like these cute little trees on there. I don't know if you can see them, kind of mossy meadow, old olive, almost like granny apple green, color combinations there with some little pieces of brown. But then this just looks so like warm and cozy too. So it's hard to pick between the two. I like it when I can provide options for people at class. So this is one of the cards that I laid out different backings and the papers so that they could choose. And it was always fun to kind of swing by the station that they were at and watch them make their card and see what they chose. So this little hello is from the Choose Happy. And so I'm just going to chop that off. It's a little bit less than a 1/2 inch wide, so pretty tiny. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of adhesive on here. Oops. And then I'm going to put this on a piece of early espresso that is a 1/2 inch. So that'll help you with your measurements. So teeny tiny, but because all of these images are small as well, I wanted to find a sentiment that kind of went with that theme. So the Choose Happy stamp set has a lot of little sentiments in it that you can kind of use alone or build to your exact purpose. Right, so it looks like my mini dimensionals, yeah, has a little chunk there. So I'm just gonna grab that and add that to the back like so, and then that's perfect for that. All right, so we've got the hello going on there. Now at the class, I laid out shades of green, and the shades of green hexagon obviously worked really well for this. And so I'm always curious, like, okay, how are people going to do that? But when you pick maybe the one that seems the lightest and it's kind of clear, it's almost like I say, it's almost like a game that we have here that I think it's called Blockus, that has those tiles. This is what it reminds me of, kind of those see-through tiles. So I'm just going to use the one that's kind of the most clear, and then just add that on here, and then come back maybe with a little bit of a greenery there too, and that'll kind of blend in with all of that. So I've got that, and then with this being more of a note card, I thought instead of putting some more sentiment in there, I'm just going to follow through and add those 3 trees onto the bottom of the inside, and then go back with that deer to kind of off to the side to make it look like a little bit of scenery to carry that through from the outside of the card to the inside of the card. So let me get that on here. Oops. And yeah, so 2 kind of different looking cards, but it should look very similar. And I love how just changing out the paper can give you that much. So if you're making a whole stack, you would only need that Weekend Adventures 12x12 Designer Series paper pack to make both of these cards, because that's in there. So then let me transfer using the 3rd page. It's one of those packs that has 4 sheets each of 3 designs. So this is design 1 and 2, front and back. And then this is the 3rd one here using that same Designer Series paper pack. So for this combination, I'm using the same ink pad colors and just swapping my background out to Mossy Meadow. I caught Dwayne at a time that he was home, my husband, and tried to run like different options. Should I put this paper, this cute paper? It just is so fun, especially for scrapbooking. I like having this on hand at classes because a lot of people that like to scrapbook are also very outdoorsy. And so I was like, oh, I like that with the early espresso, and I like it with the Mossy Meadow. I even thought about just putting it on some Berry Vanilla too. So it was almost hard because it's so cute and looks so well with everything. Like, what do I do? So Mossy Meadow was the winner according to Dwayne. So I thought, you know what? Sometimes I just need that phone a family, a friend, or have to ask for that advice that way. And I do like how it goes together as well, so that helps. All right, so let me do my stamping now on this little die here. I'm going to bring over some scratch paper so I don't have to keep wiping my glass mat off. So what I did is kind of built up a background scene here, and using almost all those same stamps, I'm just going to switch out the colors a little bit. So I didn't want it to look too green. Last time the trees were green. This time I'm going to come back with that trio of trees and stamp those out in Early Espresso. And I'm going to do that several times. So I know that doesn't look quite right, maybe, but once we kind of get everything else going, it'll be just fine. So I'm just kind of tapping on the trees. So some will stick out more than others, and we're going to just keep building on that as well. Next, I'm going to switch. So since I switched the trees from the last card from green to brown, now I'm actually going to swap the color of the cabin. So I'm going to ink this up, put this on some scratch paper, very vanilla, and do that in the mossy meadow. And I'm also going to add this little stack, little wood stack, because doesn't every little rustic cabin need a log pile next to it? Yes, yes. So this is where I probably should have had this cut out ahead of time, but sometimes I like to just cut this out so you can see it's not really that bad, especially when I had said that there's no coordinating dies or punches or anything for this. And for some people that doesn't make a difference. For some they're like, great, I don't have the machine anyway. So I'm always glad when Stampin' Up! Gives us stamp sets that don't have to be used with any kind of dies. And actually the cabin cuts out pretty easy because it's pretty square and angular, which is always easy to cut out as well. And maybe when I have this downtime too, I can ask, are you guys, if you get a chance to get away on an adventure or vacation, are you more apt to do like an adventure, woodsy adventure, or do you love going to the beach? Maybe some of you are like, I don't care, just take me on vacation, right? So in the comments, you can put if you're more of a woodsy person or a beach goer. I'd love to hear your comments. I feel like for the most part, I am more of a beach girl, but yet, you know, I love the adventure and the beauty of the outdoors and such too. So that I would never be disappointed in, or give me Europe basically any day too, just because of the architecture and beauty of all of that. All right, so I've got that cut out, and then before I adhere these two little cutout pieces, I'm going to just build on this perennial postage die cut with those trees on. So what I did was next grabbed a piece of mossy meadow, and let me measure that here on my glass mat. So that measures in 2 1/4 by 3, and then the Early Espresso after that, I just did 2 1/2, or not quite, by just over 3. So I kind of wanted it to be a little bit of a skinnier edge mat for that, just so it wouldn't look so chunky, because the background paper here is pretty busy, and I just didn't want it to be chunk. So that's kind of why. So I'm just going to get some adhesive on my Very Vanilla, attach that to my mossy meadow here, and then just add a little bit more adhesive onto the Early Espresso. And then we've got that. And now I'm going to build up this cute little scene. Oh yeah, no dies. Okay, and so this is funny. Pam is shocked because she's already stated she loves the cards, but then realized there's no dies. But let me jump in. Here's my dies though. So I'm using the perennial postage dies. That's the frame. And if you didn't have the dies or access to the machine, you could just make it be a rectangular piece of Very Vanilla. But look, I thought this, guys, added so much. So from the Autumn Trees dies from the mini catalog, they have this tiny little tree here, and I thought, oh, how fun to make that look like part of my scene. So let me just stick a mini glue dot behind that. If this looks familiar, when I was making those reindeer treat boxes, these were part of those like antlers, so that's kind of fun. And I'm just going to attach that there with one glue dot. So now it kind of fits in size-wise the same size as the tree or the scene that we're building up. And then I'm just going to tip over my my little cabin here and put a couple dimensionals on there. And then this little wood pile here, I had somebody, like I said, stamp that next to their cabin, and they cut it out together, and I'm like, well, that was pretty smart. So because it's so tiny, this one gets a mini dimensional, and I hope like we don't have to cut out things that are even minier than a mini, but it's pretty tiny. And so I'm just going to kind of overlap that tree, because I always feel like kind of overlapping builds that depth too. And then I'm just going to tuck this wood pile right onto and overlapping my cabin by a little bit. So then that's all popped up. I think this would be fun even for, say, like those suitcase treat boxes. And if you're wondering what that is, like I've been making these. So here's the tree, the same tree as my card, but you can see where it's there on my cute little reindeer. But you could almost have this be on a box if you were giving a gift. That fits so well, and it's just so cute. And so if you were giving guy gifts for Christmas, you could do something like that too. So I always like to point out another way to use these types of things. All right, so this is ready and can go on the card, but before I do that, I kind of want to work on my sentiment and greeting here. So I have a strip of Very Vanilla. Yes, Pam, I know you love your dies, so that's why I thought, okay, now you can like the card again. The card cardigan, you know, it sounds like a joke, like a sweater joke. Okay, so this is 3/4 inch by 4 inches Very Vanilla. And I'm going to start with my bear. So the last card I used the deer. So this looks just fun and outdoorsy. So I'm inking up my bear in the early espresso there. And then I'm going to come back with Happy Birthday. And make this a birthday card from the Simply Said stamp set. Whew. That got straight. At first, when I was pulling up, I thought that looks like it's going to be crooked, but it's not. So I'm glad about that. And so now this I will just attach to another piece that is 4 inches, and that's Mossy Meadow, 4 inches by an inch, 4 by 1 inch, like so. All right, so I've got that on there. So it kind of gives us a little sentiment banner there. So I'm just going to get some more adhesive going on here, and now this is going to be ready for my card. I could put that down, but like I said, I just wanted to make sure that I have plenty of room for this and that I wasn't making it look awkward if it was going to get squeezed out or so. And because I have so many layers on here and it's popped up, I'm not doing any additional dimensionals on this to adhere it. I'm just putting more adhesive like so. So we've got that. And then for embellishments, I was kind of like, oh, should I add embellishments? I usually try to add embellishments whenever I can. At first, I almost thought about putting some more of that twine on, but I didn't want to cover up the bear or have to worry about that because I like how that adds in. And then I remembered we have the muted palette dots, and that's from the annual catalog, kind of showcased with that rainbow, kind of the muted rainbow. I can't think of the suite. It's featured very large in the annual catalog, but I love these muted palette dots, and they come in Mossy Meadow. And so this is like the perfect time to use that. So I'm just going to add on one of the large muted dots and then come back and grab a couple of the smaller ones and just kind of frame the corner with that. So we have that, and it still looks rustic. So if you are thinking, okay, we don't want to take away from it being a guy card, then you can still have that look just fine. And then for the inside, I'm going to bring back some Very Vanilla 4 by 5 1/4 and stamp out that bear again down here. And then I'm going to put Thinking of You in the Mossy Meadow color there. So we have that coordinating and following through with that same theme from the outside to the inside. So I am loving this Woodland Scenery. Like every time somebody's went to a class in the last like 4 to 5 weeks, they have gotten a different version of getting to make something with the Woodland Scenery, because it's just so fun. So if you're just joining in, that's the one I just made here. Happy birthday, thinking of you. And then the hello, and then the same card, but different layout there. So yes, it's just been so fun to work with. So I will take some still shots and post that now on my Facebook page so that you can see all the colors, all of the inks, cardstock, and it takes you to a link. So if you want to click on it, yes, it goes to my store, but sometimes I've heard back from you guys, you love seeing that checklist, like, oh, do I have early espresso? Do I have old olive in the cardstock and the ink pad and such? So even if you think you're going to add that to the cart, you can easily remove it before you add it to your cart, or even while it's in your cart too. So the shopping link, I think, is very helpful. It's kind of like checking your recipes before you go to the grocery store. And I think we're all kind of eagerly doing that as we lead up to Thanksgiving too right now. So last Thanksgiving, I was celebrating with Miss Pam, who's on my video right now, and that is a fond memory. So I treasure that as well. So take care. Bye-bye.